Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Thriving in Chat Travel, personalisation and loyalty strategies for a competitive edge. So today we've got Paul from CACI, and we've also got Dominik from Bloomreach, and myself. I am also the customer success manager, one of the customer success managers at Bloomreach. We've got Paul, who's an associate partner at CACI, and Dominik, who's the product marketing manager here at Bloomreach. So welcome to everyone in the audience. I think what we're going to do is kind of go through a little bit of a presentation from Dominik. He's going to look at the state of the marketing, travel marketing in things like a post-COVID travel landscape, marketing practices, and some future trends. So over to you, Dominik.
Thanks, SJ, and thanks everyone. Very happy for me to join you on this call. This is going to be mostly a panel discussion, but for most of the call or most of this meeting. But I wanted to take 3 to 5 minutes very quickly to set us up into the similar context that we are talking about. We want to make sure that we are talking about the same context. We come from hospitality businesses, travel businesses, many different types of businesses within the travel industry that is very wide. But we kind of live the same experience, very similar experiences during the last couple of years. And so I just wanted to share some key trends that us at Bloomreach and also many research companies have noticed about what is the next generation of travel. And again, to put it shortly, flexibility and personalization. Thank you. This was my part, but yes, let's go into more detail. As travel industry was one of the most impacted by COVID, we will talk about it for a long time, and I would really love to stop talking about COVID and being the post-COVID industry, but there was such a tremendous impact on travel industry as a whole that there are key behaviors and key trends that our customers jumped on regardless of travel industry that we really need to observe and learn from. So first, when we are talking about all those 2 years of COVID, we're talking about of course travel restrictions and a huge growth of domestic and regional travel. And there is something that happened during the COVID years, but there is a trend that people realize that it is very convenient to do some short weekend trip just within the country or within, for example, region of neighboring countries, etc. That is very, not very very costly, and is very quick and logistically relatively easy. So we see a big rise and big growth of domestic and regional travel, and the growth is actually expected further into the future. So this is one of the post-COVID behaviors that is definitely here to stay. And when we talk about traveling, the definition of what a travel is and what a vacation is kind of changing and being challenged, as especially with millennials taking a bigger portion of the working segment, and Gen Z are coming into it with much more purchasing power. We're seeing that they are starting to set bigger and bigger trends. For example, with business and leisure being kind of mixed together, especially for remote workers who can offer to go to a weekend vacation abroad to the sea, and then they can spend one more week there, working remotely from their vacation. So there is a lot more demand for flexibility and more, mix of work and leisure travel. And with that, as I mentioned, the flexibility, it is growing of more and more importance, because consumers are looking for more control over their itineraries, as well as the flexibility and of where do they book, in terms of booking, cancellation policies, travel days. They are figuring out all the ways that they can make this a mix of their perfect vacation. And last but not least, when we look at the travel trend and travel as itself, it is gaining more importance within people's lives. This is something that has been dubbed as a very, very like 1 or 2 times a year pastime when you go to a vacation for a week during summer and maybe some small trip during the year. But a lot of the surveyed travelers in a study done by McKinsey indicated that there is actually greater interest to travel now, and it is becoming more of a priority within their life. So this very much agrees with the fact that even though the costs are getting higher, people are still traveling. People are not cutting travel that much from their budget. And how do we actually leverage those trends? Well, this is going to be the topic of this conversation for this hour. But to do like 4 very, very quick bullet points, the trend that we are seeing time and time again are those excellent customer experiences. Well, it is helping create a future-proof businesses when it helps create customer loyalty and drive lifetime value of customers. The flexibility, giving more control over the trips, also goes into the customer experience, and being actually proactive with it, meaning that we are not only reacting to what people do on our website, what they book, what they do or during vacation or after it. We are actually proactively use the data we are collecting about them and making sure that we use it to enhance the customer experience. And last but not least is that sustainability has become more and more of a focus of customers, and modern travelers are more eco-conscious, and they will factor sustainability into their decisions. So they might have 2 almost identical options, but the ones that are offering more eco-friendly services might have a head start against others. Yeah, and that is basically it for the intro. And SJ, if you can kick us off with the discussion.
Excellent. Thank you ever so much, Dominik. I think that was really interesting insights there, and definitely what we're seeing over the travel industry as a whole. So yeah, really interesting thoughts there. So just kind of wanting to go into a bit of a discussion around a few topics. I guess the first thing to really sort of start talking about is how do we tailor customer preferences using the likes of AI? You know, how do we take that traveler data effectively and push that into really good personalization and recommendation offers? Do either of you have any thoughts around that at all?
I'm happy to answer that question. So I was actually at the Bloomreach Edge Summit a few weeks ago, and the whole focus of the whole summit was on AI, and it's quite inspirational. One of the big points made was about consequential AI. So if we try and use AI to update and improve every part of the customer experience, it's such a big undertaking that it's almost a job that you'll never finish. Whereas if you focus on the parts of the customer experience that would really benefit and deliver the most consequence, therefore consequential AI, then that's going to deliver the most benefit quickly. So obviously travel is a emotional thing in terms of an emotional purchase. It's also a highly considered one. So therefore using the right content and imagery that suits the cohort of customers or prospects that you're trying to attract or convert is of paramount importance. And a big piece here is obviously using AI to help with the content supply chain. So it doesn't matter how much data you've got, what great technology you've got, obviously there's almost limitless in terms of variations. So in order to support that variability, then we believe that a well-ordered content supply chain powered by AI can really, really help with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it, like you said, it was so pivotal when you mentioned how it's an emotional but also costly, in a lot of senses, considered purchase, and getting that personalization right, being able to help the customer. Well, I think it's between about 60 days, 30 to 60 days is the thought process of before you book a holiday, all that research that goes into it. And if we can start to help customers by using AI to get a speedier thought process, actually, they're already excited about their holiday a lot earlier on, right?
No, exactly that. And I think some stuff around search as well can obviously help with that. So making the ability to search and find your preferential trip or holiday far easier process is obviously a good big piece for AI there as well. So the e-commerce part of it, the e-commerce search, and having that to be almost like natural language, I think is a really big opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And that's sort of, oh, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to add that I completely agree with the consequential part of it, because we really as managers need to think about what is actually going to move the needle when we are talking about applying AI. And when we think about it, so many AI use cases these days, the foundation of it is actually not AI at all. Like, we are talking about marketing automation, we are talking about data analysis, segmentation, right? What AI is here to do is to help us scale it to much bigger proportions, right? So when we were able to manually select and pinpoint 5 segments every day, right? Now we can use AI tools to create 50 micro segments every day, customers, and then we are able to personalize even more. So those are the things that will help us scale it, and AI is here to drive much bigger business value.
Yeah, and just to add to that, obviously we see that digital aggregators, the likes of Airbnb and Booking.com, are doing very, very well. So CACI runs a lot of research. That's all based on transactional historic data.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also allows customers or clients of ours, I guess, to scale at speed, because, a lot of teams are smaller now. They've got a lot more work that's kind of starting to ramp up, and being able to do that at scale and speed really, really helps. And AI helps to deliver that, as well, as yourself and Dominik have mentioned. And just looking at kind of like the advertising piece, is there any thoughts around how we can implement AI-driven advertising to reach the right audience in the first place, so that we're, again, showing the customer that we know them, that they're the right customer for this particular product or this particular brand?
Well, what I would say is that when we talk about how to use AI to optimize our advertising strategies, it goes both ways, right? We're talking about all those finding the best customer segments. We're talking about how do we identify those best segments that will show the biggest promise on converting as customers. But on the other hand, we also talk about our internal business KPIs. We're talking about our gross margins. We are talking about what are the kind of travel type of services and types of bundles that offer the biggest margins, the biggest profit to make. And we need to, and this is really hard. This is really hard and really tedious process to connect it all together and accumulate and analyze all this business data, because it goes across various teams within the company, within different data sets, etc. So I would say that AI models can help us, identify it even faster.
And it also brings everyone together, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of the time, clients have quite often worked in silos with their different departments, and actually this brings everything together and gets everybody talking, so that the client journey, or the customer journey, goes really cohesively through all the different types of channels and all through the different areas of marketing.
Yeah, and it's actually a lot of internal kind of transformation of teams on how they do processes, because it is a very hard thing to go to a big company and say that this is our source of truth. This is the place where we get the data, and this is where the truth is, because marketing team has their own data sources. So most probably they value. The finance team values different data sources when they are analyzing margins. Sales teams, etc. So it is a very big internal undertaking, of course, but there needs to be will to kind of at least go into the direction and have the understanding that this is the the goal to get one singular point of data collection.
Which is something that Bloomreach can definitely help with. Excellent. And then if we start looking at maybe adapting the new traveller behaviour, so you were talking about some of that new traveller behaviour, Dominik, and kind of how people are changing their patterns. You know, our parents used to go on holiday once a year to a sunny destination or something, you know, and now it's becoming a lot more fluid. Is there any thoughts from either of you about how we can optimize these offerings and analyzing those purchase behaviors and rebooking trends with the likes of AI and machine learning?
Paul, you want to start this one?
No, sorry, my Wi-Fi is terrible, so I'm just trying to get onto another network. Please carry on without me. Sorry.
Definitely. What I often encounter is that the first to second purchase is critical, because when you're looking at, especially when millennials and Gen Z are being more and more tech savvy, and they are much more informed about where to book their hotels, where to book their plane tickets and everything, they have much more options for where to go to, and it happens that at that first purchase, they don't care at all about the brand that is running the hotel. They don't care about the airline. They don't care about any brand that is within that. They just take the package and make the best deal on Airbnb, on Booking, and all the external partners. Basically, with all the external partners that travel companies are working with. So when we're looking at new travelers, the key is to that first customer experience and the transition from that first vacation, from the first trip, into the ecosystem of the hotel chain, for example, right? It would be the best, of course, not always possible, if the partner, the third party that provided the first purchase, would share more data, right, about that we can use. But even if not, once we get the first experience, we need to make sure that we get them into our app. We get them into the newsletter. We get more data, some preferences, feedback, and anything that we can use to make sure that the next time they are looking for a trip, they book it directly through our hotel chain, for example.
Yeah, and what I really like as well is that lots of our travel clients are starting to see and collect this data, see what is helpful or important to their customers. So, for instance, giving them access to be able to use their phone without having high charges from their provider is really important. And so making sure that they know where those little tips and tricks are to drive those customers back into their website is really important as well. And kind of understanding those key levers and partnership opportunities for growth when it comes to those new traveller behaviours. Is there anything that you feel would really kind of resonate with some of our listeners today?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So there's a whole thing here about people now are starting to look for experiences more than just merely sitting by a pool or having that kind of holiday. People are a lot more curious now. The world is a smaller place, and therefore they're more curious in sustainable tourism, into health and wellness, and also emerging markets and expanding tourism. So, for example, Southeast Asia and Latin America are really, really big markets at the moment. And the reason being is because obviously they are, quite emerging. They're quite an experience to go to. So those with, they're not cheap to go to either. So those with maybe a high disposable income are more likely to go to those kind of those places. But those obviously then come with the opportunity that if someone's going for an experience, then they're going to want to invest in that experience as well. And so the best, a friend of mine works for a travel company, and he actually organises trips and holidays to provide experiences to people. And and sustainably working with local partners that provide experiences, whether it be, a mountain walk or, some whitewater rapid rafting, or maybe seeing, something quite historical. He would actually work with local partners to do that and make it so that it enables the local partners to digitally market themselves, but do it sustainably, and with that, which means that they're paying their local partners a fair price for their service, maybe sell it as well. So you can imagine you've got somebody who's maybe, someone's very specialist helping people trek up Machu Picchu, but he's actually advertising it through, quite a big travel company's app, and I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that definitely ticks off the what Dominik was talking about around sustainability. But then you've also got that kind of, you don't want to go to somewhere, far out that's cost you a lot of money and then go to something that everybody's going to, or something that is quite mainstream. You want that little special something, don't you? And that's really pulling on that expertise of the local businesses, that specialism, that uniqueness, as well as that sustainability.
And it's also about
that.
Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, go on, Dominik.
Yeah. It's also about the fact, from my past experience with travel, especially when I was working with a sports travel agency in the past, is that as you guys mentioned, the world is much smaller now, right? So we are able to, especially when we're talking domestic regional travel is on the rise. We're talking about being able to access, events around the world that are happening, in your region, in your continent. And there are many different things. There are Olympics, we're in France this year. There are huge sporting events, cultural events. Many people want to go to a Taylor Swift concert, but it's not just in their country, so they have to travel, right? Sometimes far away. So we're looking at all those opportunities, and there's just so many different reasons why people travel these days, and this unlocks so many different traveler types and different segments that we can, try to collect data on and figure out what behavior attributes to each segment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, just taking an example of one of our staff members here at Bloomreach, he's done marathons in different countries, different areas of this country. And how cool would it be to have that data and then be like, we know that you've done this and this, but actually, have you tried it, a marathon in this country, or, that kind of thing? It really hits home with the personalisation, doesn't it?
Indeed, and that's where social media can come in as well, because, just like other e-commerce, you can use shoppable content. So people might engage with a piece, they might decide to follow a destination or the tourist board of that destination. You can actually obviously interact with that content to streamline the booking process as well. And so, selling the experience of travel and the experiences within it, I think is a real opportunity for everybody. But then it's obviously, bring it back down to, more people traveling is great. But also, again, there's a sustainability part. So the green credentials have to be advertised now for both the destination and the travel business, whether that be an airline, a hotel. I think that, because the people of that demographic that are able to afford these destinations probably care more about the green credentials as well. So it's becoming more and more, the whole carbon footprint is becoming more and more important as the years pass by. So yeah, it's a bit of a dichotomy really. People love to travel, but again, it's not, not necessarily a green thing. So obviously then we look to airlines and the transport businesses to make it as green as possible.
Definitely. And then just building into kind of customer loyalty within 2024, My personal opinion is that there's two different areas of customer loyalty. You've got the customer loyalty schemes, earn your points, get money off, that kind of thing. But then there's also the customer loyalty around just a customer being loyal to your brand. And do you have any thoughts around how we can help to understand our customer loyalty in 2024?
I can take that question. So, yeah, customer loyalty, I think it's almost like a 90s and noughties thing, and everybody was obsessed with loyalty schemes and programs. And I think for travel businesses to do it well now, I think it's using the digital capabilities we have to gamify experiences. So what I mean by that is, so for example, if you've got interactive, there are people going to a particular destination, they've got a very well-worked itinerary that's got all these amazing experiences in it. I think collecting points or rewards based on the amount of experiences you've done or things you've done at those experiences, almost like badges, can kind of make things quite fun and engaging. And obviously, the more badges people create, the more and more experiences people do, and obviously the more feedback they give through that loyalty scheme and their behaviour within it, means obviously that you collect more data as well, so that next time they travel with you, they can be you're even more personalised. And that's almost like a really nice value exchange, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, totally agree with this. That's the proactive part of this conversation, right? That I was mentioning in the beginning, is that when we're talking loyalty programs with them, we react to the current activities that our customers do and what they purchase, how many times, etc., and collect points, and we react with personalized offer, of course, which is great. But there's this one step beforehand. We have the data. There are means of getting the data, and we have the data even before that second, third, fourth purchase is happening. So we can even drive more value, and then the customer can get even more points because they will, for that purchase, they will get additional services, maybe some wellness packages, or with their hotel stays, etc., which they wouldn't if we weren't proactive and looked at the data.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sorry, I was about to say, Dominik, to your point, that proactivity isn't just leaving people to kind of look at Google to work out where they're going to go when they get to a particular destination. Top 10 destinations in a particular city, for example. You want to know the best restaurants that you can't find that are in the back streets that the locals go to. And that's that proactivity, but then rewarding people for doing what you've recommended as well. That's where the loyalty comes in, I think, because, people are actually getting proper value from you and being rewarded for taking it.
Yeah, this is actually a very, very interesting point that reminded me why, for example, blogs can be so powerful in this stage, right? Because outside of social media, compared to social media or YouTube videos that you can do about top 10 travel destinations in Barcelona, right? When you have it on your website, on your blog post, you have the data who came there. So, and if you have that visitor identified as your previous customer, you have the data. You wouldn't have it on social media, but you have it when you get them to look at your website. So getting them to engage with your content, even outside of the purchase itself, but with the general experience and research and in the process, is very powerful to drive the value.
Excellent. We do have a quick question from Jacob in the audience. He has asked, in your experience, what is a must-have Bloomreach campaign or user case that would help to drive revenue or retention?
It's a great question, Jakub. As I would also love to know that one use case that saves us all and makes us millions of dollars. But I'm sorry that I won't say one campaign itself, but when you look at the customer journey, there are multiple very powerful campaigns that serve as industry standards, and there are campaigns that do serve as something that can help drive the business further and further. So when we are looking at the customer journey, of course, we are talking about a similar buying process at the beginning. We are talking about abandoned carts, retargeting emails. We are talking about all those personalized messages that are reacting to what we were looking for, and those segmentations. But for me, when I'm looking at one campaign, for me is that first to second purchase campaign. Really, that is after that first purchase, that is the place where I am able to really look at the data and dig deep into, okay, what was the actual purchase about? And then, okay, what was happening before it? When was the purchase? Am I looking at a in-season, last-minute vacation trip in a resort? How many people were there, for how long, etc. So I have this much data, so I can really identify, okay, this was a family, they went in July, and they had this and this and these activities. So I know that I have the perfect prospect for next summer's vacation, at least, right, for next year. Or if there was if it might have been a solar business plus leisure traveler, and I know that there is an opportunity to do it quarterly because I see that he's traveling there, for example, second time to the same location. Probably they have some office in there, and he's doing some leisure traveling as well. So for me, the first to second purchase campaigns are the most important ones.
I think I agree with you on that as well, because it's a bit of a hurdle sometimes, isn't it, when it comes to that first purchase to the second purchase, to get them to take that next trip with you as a business. And it also incorporates that, what was their holiday like, and how did you enhance it as a business for that customer? So for instance, if there happens to be a swimming pool on site where you're staying, do you need to book a session for it, or is there a time when it's not available? And it's just that communication, isn't it? That nice communication that keeps you informed, allows you to think about what your day or your week might look like, but not interfere with your actual holiday. That gives you that nice kind of coming out of the holiday and then start thinking about your next one. It all sort of builds, doesn't it, to that second purchase.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny how there's parallels, which I've got 2 points to make on this, but there's funny that there's parallels between industries. So a lot of the kind of pure play aggregators and e-commerce brands that we work with, some of the fast food delivery businesses, etc., going from first to second purchase is always the hurdle. So you're exactly right. But in order to make the second purchase, you need to give them good experience in the first place. And obviously the experience is, based on helping people have a better holiday, but it's also dealing with things when there's an issue. So, not everything can go perfectly. There's, sometimes issues that are outside of a brand's control, macroeconomic issues, or they could be weather, or it could be anything. And I think about one of our airline clients, and I think that they have whole reason for them investing in data and technology is predicated on the main use case of, we want to manage things better in times of disruption. If there's a baggage handler strike or a flight's delayed, we want to be able to tell our customers in a timely fashion and help manage them through the process of getting, going abroad or getting their flight or whatever it might be. We want to help them know that there's options for them for a hotel if it's a long delay. We want to help them with vouchers. We want to make sure that we're the ones giving them the information and they're not seeing it on the airport screens. Ultimately, we want to be the best for customer experience during times of disruption. And I think, there's obviously all these kind of amazing initiatives and proactivity we can do, but ultimately, to create really good loyalty, there's sometimes when things are difficult and you step up as a brand, that you really make yourself stand out from everybody else.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? You can go on holiday, and when you have that considered purchase, when you do spend a lot of money on it, you want it to be perfect. And sometimes, myself included, I'll be like, this is going to be the best holiday ever. Nothing's going to go wrong. And like you say, if you're running around trying to find the information you need when something does go wrong, it puts a bit of a dampener. If I'm being given that information, I'm prepared, I'm ready, I know where to go for certain pieces of information, or I know that this has been sorted, so I don't need to freak out over my dinner trying to sort something out. So you're absolutely right, Paul. And just kind of going... Oh, yeah,
but also quickly add, sorry for interrupting, is that yes, from the other sides of customer journey, yes, first or second purchase and everything else, those are the most important parts in travel and basically in most of the other industries, right? But the experience itself is something. It's a part of the customer journey that is very specific to travel, to very specific to it, because you're not just purchasing a product and it arrives. You're spending 2 weeks at a place, for example, right? So those 2 weeks really count, although they don't create immediate revenue, right? The next one, but they are such a big contributor to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got one more topic that I wanted to touch on, but just to remind the audience that obviously there is the Q&A there. So if you do want to get your questions in, please do get them in and we'll get them answered for you. So that's just there for you to add your questions in. And just kind of tapping into the last sort of topic, and this is about standing out in a post-COVID market, which feels really weird to say, because I heard something the other day that we are actually half a decade away from when COVID happened. So it's been half a decade, which seems quite scary, but I think everybody still feels it. We all still feel like it only happened yesterday. So I think it is still something that's very much on people's minds, especially with the changes in travel for people, like Dominik was saying at the very beginning of the session. And so I wanted to sort of explore some of the differentiating strategies or sustainable growth that we could scale through AI.
Yeah, sure. So I can do one straight off. So it's kind of contentious, but dynamic pricing. Now, dynamic pricing is something that obviously brands use to charge you more money. You know, historically, hotels, airlines that have limited capacity, you know, you don't get last minute deals anymore, because they've actually flipped the model. So you actually pay more the closer that you get to your trip because of demand. I think doing dynamic pricing in a more fair way to enable people to be completely transparent about how pricing is done is a real opportunity. So, you know, if you can say to people, book earlier and we'll make the pricing lower for you, and actually tell people to an extent about how dynamic pricing works and make that a transparent process, I think in a time where, you know, people are pinched, but people are desperate to, in a post-pandemic world, to get away and experience new things and not be, you know, stuck in the same town for 3 years on end. They are, if you can make it really easy for people and cost-effective for people, I think people really like it. So for me, I think that's a massive opportunity. You know, it's almost like ethical pricing, rather than just making it purely dynamic and one way, and it almost creates a partnership between the consumer and the brand.
And that should also help to, I mean, I've worked in travel in my previous life, and, you know, things like airline seats, you've got a certain amount of seats on an airline, and, you know, they start at one price, and as they get filled up, that's it. I guess in some ways it might even help to build urgency of booking if you could see how busy is that flight. Do you know? And that will give you that indication of, actually, you know, those prices are going to start to go up because it's half full. So actually that might increase the speed of people actually booking their flights and hotels.
Exactly that, and still charging a good price for it too.
Yeah.
I think that there's no issue with like changing the prices dynamically, and at certain points, like raising the prices based on demand. I think that everybody who understands at least a little bit about how business works completely agrees with that is how businesses should operate. But exactly as Jay mentioned, is that we need to do it transparently and really not discriminate and don't be transparent and honest about the offers that we have. For example, as you mentioned, when there is a big demand for a flight and you are trying to fill it and there's a big demand, of course the prices are going to go up. You gotta send a notification to those who are interested. Okay, this is in high demand. But what if somebody sends it even though the plane is almost empty, right? And they still send the notification. There is a huge high demand. The prices are gonna soar. So that is something that the customer doesn't have any means to kind of double check. Mm-hmm. But it's more about the stance of the company and the values on how do I advertise, how do I behave towards my customers. Am I being truthful, or am I persuading them to go for a deal that is untrue and they have wrong information before making a purchase? So for me, the transparency is the key to doing like a fair dynamic pricing and not showing the data that is non-existent and information.
Cool. We do have another question in, and I really do apologise if I pronounce your name incorrectly, but we have a question from Danier. I think that's how you pronounce your name. Apologies if it isn't. But what is a user case that you would suggest to personalise in-flight customer experience? I think this is a really interesting one because you're kind of sitting there on the plane, right, waiting for it to fill up and waiting for it to take off, and you're sort of in your thumbs a little bit.
I can talk to that. So obviously short haul versus long haul. Short haul, I don't know if everybody's experienced it, I'm sure you have, but you sit there and you kind of look at the same magazine and the same menu that everybody else does. Now, what if that was more dynamic based on any preferences that you'd given before you'd flown? So I'm interested in, I don't know, in history content, I'm interested in travel content, I'm interested in current affairs. I don't drink, I'm vegan, all this kind of stuff. That can all manage both the in-flight magazine and obviously the menu of things that are available to you as well. You can also, doing things in terms of the digital screens. There's no reason why they can't be individualized and personalized to people's preferences before they go, if you're on long haul flights. So I think all of that, I think it is important. I think there's also a thing as well where if your people are scared of flying, and let's face it, a lot of people are scared of flying, you can kind of say that you're a timid flyer or before you go. And I think that airlines should have an obligation to make the in-flight experience less stressful for you. I mean, it's small little things. I mean, I'm probably getting a bit carried away here, but my daughter always suffers from really painful ears when we're descending on an aeroplane. And we've had it for years, and it's just something we try and deal with. But it happened that an air steward had this little kind of trick with a pot with some Olbasol in it and a little tissue that you breathe through, and it takes their mind off of it, and it stops her getting her ears bursting. Now, if we knew if they knew that she was a timid traveller and that she had painful ears, then they could have done that as part of the preparations for the flight. And I know that's a fair undertaking when you're running lots of flights and 50 flights a day out of one airport or whatever it might be. But maybe for some of the long haul, at least, that are spending a lot of money on the flight, maybe things like that will make a difference.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, excellent.
What I would also say that totally agree with you, Paul. And when you look at the experience on an airport itself, right, especially during the long haul intercontinental flights, well, the airport itself is the biggest ally of yours. Like there are so many places and airport offers where you can rest, you can buy things, you can eat, you can spend some quality time relative to an airport, right? But there are so many partnerships that you can do. So many it can be logistically even easier when there are so many franchises operating across multiple airports. So you can have one deal for a special discount with that set partner at the airport, where you can buy for food at a restaurant for 10% off, right? And these activities to make sure that the 3-hour layoff in Dubai is as convenient as possible, and that goes even longer way to improving the productivity.
I think actually, if you, funnily enough, I think London Heathrow Airport, they have a loyalty scheme where, just like you were saying, Dominik, you've got this app and you can get discounts off of all the different shops that are within the actual airport, and then they transfer you're either getting discounts or you're earning points, and those points can be used against things like car parking or a hotel for the night before or the night when you return home, which then encompasses it back into the business and back into the products or the businesses that are actually situated within London Heathrow Airport. So that kind of really sort of ties into that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, again, and then you can go even further, let's say that I'm an airline operator, right? How do I make use of this airport's loyalty app? How do I make my offers and my deals in there, to increase my bottom line? So everybody at the airport, every single company is somehow connected, but often they don't share data and don't interact with each other.
Yeah. We've got about 13 minutes left, so I wanted to just touch on, I think there's potentially maybe a user case or customer case study that you might want to talk about, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned airlines a lot today. I'm not allowed to discuss which airline it is, but I will discuss a recent project we've done for an airline and the approach we've taken. So, as I've mentioned, customer experience is key in the airline industry, as it is for many. And this brand actually saw customer experience as being their real differentiator and still do in the market. So, net promoter scores were low, not their fault necessarily, because there were things like, people coming out of COVID, there was all sorts of stuttered back to flying, bad experiences that people were getting. There were air traffic control strikes, there were baggage handlers, so all sorts of things. And so the airline on the flight experience for people wasn't great. And so it's kind of spoiling lots of people's holidays and things. So the first thing they decided was that they were going to fix that. And they were going to do the best they could in terms of using data and tech to fix that, because they knew that they couldn't build a business, i.e. cross-sell and upsell to these customers and these flyers, unless they obviously have a decent experience with them. So first thing they did was audit all of the comms that they sent. So imagine if you're an airline and you're a big one at that, there's lots of different operational systems that you have. Some of them are quite small that deal with certain parts of the journey. So they looked at all of the comms they were sending. They then decided to turn a lot of those comms off because they weren't adding any value, and they were just confusing customers. What they then did was kind of look at the tech and data architecture to work out what needed to change in order to enable a new experience. So they looked at all the data flows, worked out there was some latency between some of the data flows within their systems. They implemented a CDP in order to get rid of that data latency and enable then the data from all the operational systems to get in the communication systems in good time. So a lot of that data latency was gone. They're then able to deliver a really good experience during times of disruption. And then on top of that, then they were then able to implement a whole bunch of new customer journeys that are designed to provide a better marketing experience, if you like. So, better things for cross-sell, better, rebooking rates, better second holidays, as we said, first or second purchase. But the whole point for them was that if they couldn't provide a good experience, then there's no point in trying to cross-sell or upsell to their customers, which I thought was quite a good move and a noble move, and it sounds very sensible, but a lot of people overlook that. So their competitive advantage is enabled through data and tech, through a CDP and a CEP, to deliver the customer experience to then enable the better marketing. So, and I'm sure a whole bunch of people on this webinar are customers of this brand. So hopefully we'll see things improve in due course.
Fantastic. And I think one of the kind of case studies that we've seen here is that, one of our customers have actually used the managed endpoints to actually be able to drive personalization on their website. So essentially, if you are looking at a holiday with your dog, you will start to see imagery with dogs in it. And it seems really simple, but it has actually increased their click-through rates into, those kind of starting to look at that purchase journey by 77%. And so actually it's little things like that around sort of some machine learning that can then really start to take off into the world of AI, and how can you then start to use things like auto segmentation tool within Bloomreach to actually see who those customers are, what they're interested in, and actually be able to take that data and then personalize those communications out to them. So that's again, something that a different one of our clients is starting to use, and really seeing the benefits of the data that's coming through from that AI journey to see who the customers are, where they should be putting their focus, and what kind of campaigns they can start to send.
Yeah, we're all. The great thing is we're all consumers as well as people that work in this industry, and historically, to do, if you did want to go on a expensive holiday, you haven't been away for a couple of years, and you want to go and do something pretty decent, you would have to spend lots of time researching it, hell of a lot of time. And I think with the e-commerce capability, and I've seen it again with Bloomreach at the recent conference, that's available now with natural language search and kind of iterative search that all going through the same environment. I think brands' ability to surface the right content at the point of kind of consideration, but then obviously using that again for once they return, to then get them to that second purchase. I think the opportunities there are massive now. And as I said right at the beginning, the amount of variability in people's preferences is can be astonishing. But the data and tech is there now to support it.
Absolutely. And we've started to really see with the Edge Summit, haven't we, that talk around our Clarity product and how that can start to enhance customers' journeys and decision making. And so the possibilities are endless.
I totally agree. One of the use cases that I wanted to add that I realized multiple customers using, and is becoming really a trend, especially in the European Union, since the tracking policies and regulations about customer data tracking are very strict here, is that when a visitor has to confirm that they want to be tracked on a website separately, you lose like at least a quarter of visitors that you don't have tracked at best. At worst, you can lose even half of them, right? So we're talking about we talk about a lot of data that we can gather, but all of it is not complete in many cases. So what our customers are pushing for is that the app experience in general, right? So when I go to make that first purchase, I give you an incentive to download the app, make the purchase through the app, and have the experience in the app, right? So that means that I have full data set about what you are doing. It sounds ominous from my head as I said it, right? But I can make sure that I serve properly 100% of users in my app with the same experience. I cannot say that about my website or any other channel that I use. So the app experience helps transfer everyone there and make the experience much better with almost no loss of data.
Amazing.
Sorry, just to add to that. So if people want a good app to have a look at, go and have a look at the TUI app. They've invested a lot of money in the app, It was designed out of Germany. And obviously the big thing with travel companies is obviously selling ancillary products. But their app acts as a co-pilot for you. So it just basically helps you organize your holiday based on AI, based on metadata, based on weather, based on local data. And it's really, really quite powerful. You're mentioning the app there, Dominik. I suggest people look at that.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much, both yourself, Paul and Dominik, for your time. This has been a really interesting chat. Thank you so much to the audience and the questions that have come through. And I think we can wrap it up there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.